Hello, I'm Mark, and welcome to part 6 of my Unreal Engine tutorial on how to build a multi-stage and non-linear questing engine for your Unreal Engine games. So in this video, we'll be focusing on building out our Questlog as well as our widget tracker, as you can see here in the demo, so that we can better visualize the data that we'll be putting into the Questlog as we add quests and move quests through the quest progression. So nice little visualization here. As you can see, I got my quest log. I only have one quest in here, which is quest 2, and then I can turn the tracker on and off straight from here. And as you can see, there's some information up. So we're going to go ahead and build this all out. It's going to be probably a long video since it's definitely going to be working on the UI. We've got all the C++ that we need. We don't need to go into the into Visual Studio to build any new widgets right now. So this can be all done off the default UI widgets. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so let's get started. I'm just going to go ahead and just stop the demo. And I'm just going to minimize this and then move this over to my other screen. Alright, so I'll get that out of the way. So here we are. This is the solution that we're currently building in. This is my live. And as you can see, I'm in content, third person. We're in the UI folder, and this is where we're going to go ahead and build out all of our components that we need. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and build out our quest log, which is the big translucent black thing that we have that we saw earlier. So to do that, I'm just going to right click. I'm going to come to user interfaces, widget blueprints, and we're just going to go with a standard widget blueprint. Nothing fancy here. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it BP Questlog, or WB, should be WB, right? Yep, WB Questlog. Widget Blueprint Questlog, and we'll just pop this open right now here. Okie dokie, so since this is the Questlog, and this is going to be taking up a full screen, I'm going to go ahead and start off with a canvas panel. So we'll just go grab our canvas panel, drag and drop it in there. Nothing special here, just compile and save. And then I'm going to put a border around it. And this is going to act as the main border for our panel. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and move our quest log into the middle here. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and make it full screen. So as you can see here on the anchors, I'm going to come down to the far right bottom corner, and I'm just going to select it, which is then going to change that little icon from a flower or a daisy to this kind of box format here. And then on the anchors, I'm then going to go ahead and hit the control key, left control, which is then going to go ahead and blow this thing up for me. Alright, so now that we've got that done, we're going to want to, instead of making it full size, we want to bring it in a little bit. So to do that, just give me a second, I'll take a look at my other solution. So let's see, we've got anchors. I want to offset the left by 100. And I'm also going to offset the right by 100. So that's going to give us a little bit of offset on the left and the right. That'll be kind of like our little buffer here. And then on the top, we're just going to go 50, and we'll do the bottom as 50 as well. Alright, so that's going to be the size of our screen when it pops up. I'm going to hit compile and save. And then, let's see, alignment, we don't need to worry about that. So after that, I think we just need to give it a color. Let me just check alignment real quick. Content, there's really nothing there in content. We can keep that about the same. Appearance, so with the brush color. So brush color, I'm just going to go click on this. I'm gonna go with a translucent black color, and I'm gonna set that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set it to black, but then I'm gonna set the alpha here to like 0.8, so it'll kind of make it a little bit more transparent. Hit the OK button, so it'll make it feel like it's a little bit less. It's not fully opaque. It's a little bit transparency that you can kind of still see what's going on behind, but for the most part, it's covered up. Alright, so I think that will do it for that. So now we need to go ahead and create the layout within the boxes. And to do that, we're going to need some horizontal and vertical boxes. So first off, let's get a horizontal box. There we are, horizontal box. And I'm just going to put that into the border, so it will take up the whole border. So that will control that for us. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get 2 more borders. And I'm going to put 1 here and 2. So each of these borders are going to so you've got the left side of the screen and the right side of the screen. So the border for the left, I'm going to just set this one to fill. So that's just going to push everything over until something starts pushing back. And I'm going to put a padding of 10 in there. So it'll come back and it's going to come off the main border a little bit. You'll fill everything up. As far as content, I think we're good. As far as brush color, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some opacity to this. So I'm going to say 0.8. So it looks a little grayer. Okay. Is there anything else I need there? Nope. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get a vertical box and put that in there. And our vertical box has got a little bit of padding. I'm going to probably put 5 all around. So that's our vertical box. Next is going to be the, just wondering, Alright, next I'm going to put in another border. So this is going to act as kind of like the header for this. So the left panel is going to be where I'm going to have the main quest and side quest. So we're going to say let's get a border, and I'm just going to drag this border down into the vertical box. So there it is. So this border is going to be auto fill. Go set to auto fill content, and as far as the brush color goes, I'm actually going to make this. I'm going to give this a gray color. So this will act as our background. There we go. Hit that. And since it's set to fill, we just need to put a control in there to fill it out. So as you can see right now, everything's kind of like mushed together. So let's go ahead and get a text box. And I'm just going to drop that into the border, which then goes ahead and pushes the border down. And this text box, let's see, what am I going to do here? So I'm just going to set this to 5 all around. Why not? And this is going to be main. So there's our title, main quests. Color, I don't think I need to do too much here. Let me check out the font real quick. 24, we'll just keep that. Bold, we'll keep that. Alright, I think we'll just keep that for now. Alright, so then after this, underneath the border, I'm going to add a size box. And this is so that I can just create something of a given size. So let's just there's the size box. Come on, I want to put you there. Actually, I want to drop you in there, and I want to drop you there. Okay, good. So there's our size box, and this is going to be in the size box. We're going to go ahead and put a list view in there. And I'm going to make this this is already a variable, so let's just go ahead and lst main quests. So just set that up. I'm going to compile this, and it's going to throw an error because I don't have the actual list widget. Let's just finish off the layouts, and then we'll come back and we'll go ahead and create that list widget, since I'm going to need it for both the main quest and the side quest. Alright, so let's see. I've got the list, we've got this. So on the size box, I'm going to set this to, I'm just going to do a height override of 350. Compile, save. And let's see. That's that. Tooltip. Oh, before I do that, let's just go back and I'm just going to go ahead and justify our text there. So I just set that to middle. And that's part of the justification of the text. Actually, I think what I want to do is I want to do that, and then we'll just justify that there. Yeah, that looks better. Alright, so that's the main quest. Let's see, we've got our size box. Let's put a padding of 5 just to keep it in line with everything else. And then within the size box, we've got our list view. Let's see, I would like to try and make that, get some of that whiteness out of there. So how do we do that real quick? So size box. Alright, so let's try and format this a little bit more, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, all of its structures, and I'm just going to duplicate it for the miscellaneous quest. So let's finish with the formatting a little bit. So let's go to border, horizontal, border, that's set to 10. So our vertical box, I'm just going to keep that flush, but I'm going to add a bit of a border around here. I'm just going to make this 4 all around. I'm just going to set this to 4 size box. I'm going to make that 4 all around, and then we'll add a little bit of a border there too. And let's see if we can get rid of this white color for the background of our size box. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the size box. I'm going to right click, and I'm just going to go to wrap with, and I'm going to say a border. So that's going to wrap it in a border. So now I'm going to come back up to our border, and I'm going to change this back to our kind of translucent black. So if I do this, compile, so what we now have is we've got that black, we've got a little bit of a whiteness, you know, to kind of give us that kind of framework. All right, so that should be it for our border and, you know, for our header for main quest and border. So I'm actually just going to go grab both of these, and I'm just going to say, hang on, can I just duplicate? I should be able to just duplicate this. So yep, I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm just going to move this under. Well, don't want to move it too far under. How about we move it there? And I'm just going to move this back up here. So okay, that looks good. And I'm just going to come here, and I'm going to call this instead of main quest, side quests. Alright, so hit compile, save again, and then I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate, or just duplicate that, and again I'm just going to grab our side quest and just move it up, so it kind of moves that into the position that I want it to be in. Alright, so now we've got main quests and side quests. This is list of main quests. I'm just going to call this list of side quests. Alright, hit save, compile. Alright, so as you can see, we've got a little bit of extra space here, so I'm just going to go into the size box and just change this size box to 500. And maybe 500 is a little too much, so go to 480. Yeah, 60 is a little too much. I think 70 might be the right number. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so we've got our main quest here, and we got kind of like a little white border here. We could probably tweak this a little bit later, but it kind of frames it a little bit more, so it's not just hanging out. Alright, so now once we've got our side quests, let's go ahead and get the other structure on the other side. So that's a border over here. So this border is what? This is 10, so I'm just going to make this border say 10. Let's see, left. I'm going to put this 5 so it's not too aggressive. And well, I'm just going to come back to this border here, and that's the right. I'm just going to make this 5. Kind of narrow that down just a little bit. Alright, so this border is using our opaque brush, so I'm just going to do the same thing for this one. So let's just go in here, and just going to give it a little bit of a translucent effect on there. Alright, so the idea is that if I have whatever's in the main quest or side quest, if I click on it, then we should be able to pull that information up in the other panel. So to do that, let's go ahead and set up the other panel, and to do so, let's grab ourselves a vertical box. And I'm just going to drop that into this border. And within this vertical box, let's just go ahead and set this to 5. Put a little padding in there. And I'm actually going to come back up to this border real quick. So I'm going to set this border to fill, and I'm going to set this to 2. So what this does is so when you use the fill, you can actually use this as a kind of way of, you know, the idea is that this screen, if it's going onto a smaller resolution, should shrink down a bit. But the fill size is now using kind of a ratio, so it's kind of like 2 to 1. So yeah, to kind of even that out a bit. So I'm going to hit save. We have our vertical box. Let's go ahead and create another border which we can use for a title, and that'll be our quest title, which will go up there. So again, I'm actually just going to go ahead and duplicate this, and I'm just going to grab it and just drop it into the vertical box, and there we go. So for this one, I don't necessarily want it in the middle, so I'm just going to come down to our text formatting, and from here I'm just going to go ahead and left justify over to the side, and instead of main quest, I'm just going to call this quest title. So that'll be where our quest title is going to be. And then next, I'm going to so here I'm going to go ahead and put a scroll box. So that way, if this thing starts getting larger and larger and larger, we'll have some scrolling options. So to do that, I can put a scroll box in, and I'm just going to drop this under the vertical box and move this cut. Actually, I'll just go ahead and grab the border and just move this back up. Try and make sure everything stays in the vertical box. And then with the scroll box, I'm going to set that to fill. We'll keep it 1. Vertical, so orientation is vertical, visible 992. I think everything else can stay the same. So I'm just going to compile again. We'll get a little error. Alright, so then within the scroll box, I'm going to add some text boxes which we'll use for the description, for the quest description, the stage description, and then we'll put in another list view for our stage objectives. So we'll just add that into our scroll box. So to do that, I'm going to say let's go ahead and let's go get a text box. And I think before I do this, I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the scroll box, and I'm going to wrap this scroll box in a border. And I'm going to set this border to go back to our kind of translucent black color. And our border, let's put a pad of about 5 in there, so it looks like it's coming off. So we've still got this nice little white border to kind of give us that border feel. And we're setting up the backgrounds. So now I'll come back to the text box, and this is our text box for our quest description. So this is going to be a variable because we want to fill it dynamically. So I'm going to say txt, and this is going to be quest title. Actually, this is going to be quest description. Which means I'm going to come back up to our title, and I'm going to make this a variable. I'm going to call this txt quest title. Alright, so there's our quest title. This is going to be our description. And then underneath that, I'm going to, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple other text fields in here, but I'm going to use spacers to kind of space it out for our layout. So I'm going to add a spacer. So that spacer is going to be there, and let's see, I'm going to set the spacer, let's see, we'll make it 16 on the Y. So that'll give us some decent space between the description and the stage description. So I'm just going to go ahead and write and duplicate. I'm just going to move the spacer up. And then here I'm just going to change the variable name from quest description to stage description. Stage description. So that'll do that. So quest, stage, quest. And then again, I'm just going to go ahead and just duplicate our spacer. And I'll just move that up. And then under our spacer, I'm going to go ahead and put in another list stage objectives. So this will be the objectives that we want to put into our box here. So I'm just going to hit compile, save, and let's go get ourselves a list view. And let's just go ahead and drop that, hopefully there. All right, under list view, we'll set this to auto. And we'll just, all right, so let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and just do a little bit more formatting. So I'm going to put a padding of 5 just to kind of bring some of this off the side there. So I'll put a nice little pad around there, hit compile, save. And then let's see, I think that should do it for that. So I think the only thing I want to do now is I want to put a list of all of the completed objectives. And that would come off our completed objective list coming out of the UI. So to do that, let's see what we're going to do. Should I use? I could use a size box, or we'll use a border. But actually, no. Let's use a size box. That way, I can make this a fixed size underneath. So we'll make this a size box. So let's go find a size box. Actually, I'm just going to go move that to vertical. Yeah, let's move that to the vertical box and set the size box to 300 height. And then I'm just going to wrap this size box in a border. And let's just make this our black translucent, and we'll make this 5, just put some padding in there. Alright, so then our size box is good, and then within our size box, let's go ahead and put another list view in. And this is our list view. I'm just going to drop this in the size box. Alright, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 list views. And so the first 2 are going to be for our objectives, and the other ones are going to be our quests, and then the other one is going to be for our objectives. The first one will be, these are the objectives we want to accomplish, and then the second one should just be a list of tally of all the objectives we've completed in this quest. And this is just how I'm going to do it as far as the data flowing in. Alright, so I think that should do it for the layout. So now we can go ahead and start to create our little widgets for our list views. So to do that, we just need to come down to our list entries here and let Unreal Engine go ahead and build our widget for us. Alright, so first off, let's go ahead and do the one for the, since we've got multiple list boxes here, let's go find the list size box. Okay, so so for the main quest in Cycles, we can actually reuse the same entry widget. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do this first. So I'm just going to select the list main quest, and I'm going to come down to the list entries, and under here, since we don't have one specifically for this, I'm just going to come over to the plus to say create new blueprint, and we'll go ahead and give this blueprint a home, which will be under blueprints, under UI, and we should give it a name. And let's go ahead and call this the quest I'm just going to call it quest list item, so I know what it is and how it's being used. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit save. So Unreal Engine is going to go ahead and create our quest list item. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come into graph, and I'm going to come to class settings, and I'm going to change the interface. So under class settings, I'm going to come down to interface here, and I'm going to say user object list entry, because this is the one I want to use. I don't want to use this one because we're going to be using an object and passing that in through an object. So that way, once we get that, we can come down to interfaces. We'll see this on list item object. Just double click there, and we've got it. All right. So that will set that up. I'm just going to go hit compile save. If I hit compile, then one of our errors is fixed because we've now mapped it. But let's come over here. So let's go to the designer and let's go ahead and design this this entry for us. So since this is a component, I'm not going to need a canvas. Instead, I'm just going to go straight to the size box. So I can give it a definite size, and that size is going to just be of a height. So I'm going to let it, so its width is going to be defined by the content in there up until it hits the size box or the layout of the container that it's in. But I'm going to override the height so that it's got a proper height of 40. And since I've now done that, let's go ahead and desire on screen. So right now, as you can see, it's kind of looking a little thin, but it's a little thin, but it's definitely tall. So I'm gonna hit save. So now let's go ahead and add some functionality to this. So for this, since this is clickable, it's not just here for listing. We want to be able to click on it so that we can change the panel. So let's go ahead and add a button to it. So I'm just going to go grab our button, I'm going to drop that in, and Quest. So I'm just going to do that. And then from the button, let's go ahead and define it. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and change the horizontal alignments to make it left aligned. And as far as vertical alignment, I'm going to make it center aligned. And this is alignment within the container, which is within the size box. All right, as far as the style, I think we're okay here. As far as the background color, I am going to change this background color. So let's go ahead and background color, and all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make it fully translucent. Hit OK. So now it's see-through. And that, I think, is all I need to do there. I don't need to do anything. We're just going to keep all the other normal settings. So there's a lot of things here you can set up within the button itself. So it's pretty powerful. But that's all we're going to do here. So next, within the button, we're going to need some text. But because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add. Actually, you know what? In the size box, I'm going to change this a little bit, and I'm going to let's go ahead and just wrap this with a horizontal box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this button here, and then within this button I'm going to put some text. So let's go and find text. And we'll just drop that in there. So there's our text block. And this text block is going to be, again, a variable because I want to change it based on what's going in there. txt quest name. So that'll be the name of the quest. I'm going to hit save. We'll just put quest name just so we know what it is. And let's size. I'm going to make this 16. So I'll make it a little bit smaller. We can stay. All the other defaults can stay. I think we're good there. Is there any justification I want to do here? No, we'll keep this aligned text left. All right, so that's that button. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up to the horizontal. I'm going to add a second button. And this is going to be our tracker button. So I'm going to make that button tracker. And again, I'm going to make the background, just set that to 0 to make it transparent. And then within here, we're going to go ahead and get another text. And this is just going to be our tracker button. So this can stay static, and I'm just going to say tracker. And I'm going to change the color. So for this one, I'm just going to change it to, so I'm going to set the color and opacity to yellow. So as you can see, I've got some presets in here in my editor. So if you're interested, that's the color on the color wheel. So just keep that up. Okay, and let's just call it track. Alright, so there's the quest name, there's the button, and then there's the track. And let's go ahead and set this to the same size. So that's 16, so let's make everything 16. There we go. So I think that looks good. So the idea is if I hit the track button, then that will then go ahead and add it to the track widget. If I hit the track button again, it'll take it out of the track widget. If I hit the quest button, it will pull up the quest that I want to pull up. So we'll just keep that there. Alright, so that should do it for our list item. So let's go ahead and see what we can do to add some functionality in here into this component. So one of the things that we did in C++ is we went ahead and added a couple of events to this button so that we can, or to our quest object. So let's go ahead and pull that up, and we can just refresh our memory there. Alright, so I'm going to just bring up Visual Studio. So back when we, in part 2, when we created this, we actually created these two delegates here, and this is what we're going to use them for. And the reason why I put these delegates on here is because since this is a object, right, I don't have to create a wrapper object for this data. So we're just going to pass this straight on into the list item from our Questlog. And so that's why we just went ahead and added these two for UI purposes trackers right here. So we can go ahead and do that since it's already in object format. One of the nice things about making this an object. So from here, all we have to do is we just have to take what we're coming in, and I'm going to say cast to core quest object. So that's what's coming in, that's what we're going to be creating, and as usual, I'm just going to go ahead and promote this to a variable. And then from here, so what we have here is our quest name, and there's our variable there. So let's go ahead and say set text. And then all we need to do here is run the get quest name function, and that will run that. So again, this is sitting on our C++ that we already did. So if I pull that back up. So again, we created some functions down here. So we have get quest name, and again, as I said, I think I mentioned in part 2, this was going to be for all UI. This is we created these functions for UI purposes. Since this object is going into the list, we can just go ahead and execute these functions here or on the object, so we don't, no fuss, no mess when it comes to UI. Make the UI elements or logic a lot less complicated. So there that is. All right, so that's what happens when we're going to go ahead and create it on. So this is our on list item object setup. So we're going to put the name in there, but we also have some events here too, and I'm going to do a little bit of formatting on these events as well. So we have one for click, and we have one for click tracker. So I'm going to come back to the designer real quick, and the nice thing is I can come down here, I can go find the events, and so we have on click. We also have a couple of other events, and so I'm going to set those as well, so we can just make this look a little bit neater. So I'm going to have the on hover and on the unhover as well. So I'm just going to come back, grab those events. All right. Oh, we can do it from here too. All right, so there's our quest. And so for on the button click, all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead, since we've set this, right, we know what this is, that's why we're promoting this to a variable, so I can do a get, and then I can run the hang on, it's actually right on here. There it is, on click selection. So that's the function we want. So what's going to happen is we hit this, we're going to call this function, and we're going to pass ourselves back in. And this is right. This is actually, we're just going to go fire the event which is already on this object, which then goes and tells this is the object that we want to pass back to the main screen to say, hey, this is the data we want to display. Alright, so that's that. Let's go ahead. So I want to bring these out so I can do a little bit of formatting to make it so that when we hover over it we can change the color so we know which one we're hovering over. So to do that, we can go ahead and get the quest name, and off here we're going to want the set color and opacity. And I'm going to need this twice. One for on hover and the other one for when we unhover. And so for this, all we need to do is we just need to set a color. And this is, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create a couple of slate color objects. So this will be set the quest color, and this is going to be slate color. So what this is just a slate color object. Again, it's a nice little struct, and from here we can go ahead and set this to whatever we want it to be. So I've got a color in mind, so I'm just going to go grab this. So by default it's going to be this pink. I'm going to change this to kind of more of a gray color. We hover over it. I'm just going to go grab it, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that in there. But when we unhover, we want to set it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this and quest unhover, real original. And for this one, when we compile it, I'm just going to set this back to white. So we're just going to go 1, 1, 1, and 1. And there's our unhover. So what will happen is when we hover over this item, it should go translucent to say that this is where, this is where our cursor is, and then if we unhover, it'll go back to its original color. So, all right, so that's the setup for that. So let's go ahead and set up the tracker. So since if I am with the tracker, very similar. So let's go ahead and get the button tracker. So once I select button tracker, I can come into here and I can say press. I'm just going to move this over to here so it's kind of in line a bit. And I think I want to do the same thing for the tracker. So I'm just going to hit hover, and I'm going to come back to the tracker and hit unhover. So let's get all those events and just move them. And then because I want to do the same thing for the color, I'm just going to come back to our designer real quick, and I'm going to click on the track color, and I'm going to make this a variable now. We're not making a variable to change the text. We're just going to make it a variable so we can change the color. So I'm just going to go and say txt tracker. All right, so Questlog. Nope, go back here. Go to the graph. All right, so as far as the click is concerned, it's same as here. The only difference is that when I click on this, instead of on select event, I'm going to say on click tracking event. So this is a tracking event, so when we click on this, we'll go ahead and add ourselves into the tracking list, and then we'll fire an event to tell the UI to update the tracking list. And this will happen regardless of whether we put something in or out. So we've already got that code, so both of these on-click events are right here. So say on-click select on-click. So all I do is I just wrapped the delegate in a function just to make it easier to access. So if I just come down here and go to definition, I think is what we want. So again, as you can see, broadcast this. That's all I'm doing. That way I don't have to do any bindings in the UI. I can just, we just call the function. Alright, so here again on hover. So what I'm going to do, so let's see, let's go grab our tracker text, and we're going to say set color and opacity. Nope, I want the function. There it is. And I want both of these. Yeah, just push that there. So when it comes to just, again, clicking it, I'm just going to go ahead and reuse our hover. So again, we're just going to make this that color, but what we want to do is unhover. I need to reset the color, so I'm just going to come down here, I'm going to hit duplicate, and I'm going to say I'm going to just call this one tracker unhover and compile it, and then on here I'm just going to go reset this back to our yellow color. I think that's the yellow color we want. So this is our unhover. I'm just going to grab this, get, and drop that in there. Alright, so that should set that up for our Questlog. So there, and as you can see, it's filling it in with some samples, so that's what it's going to look like. Depending on the quest name, it'll, these things will get longer and shorter, but this thing will kind of track to that. Alright, so now that we've got this, we can actually do the same for the side quests. It's actually real easy. So I'm just going to select the side quest, going to come down to none, and I'm just going to use the same widget for the side quests. Yeah, no difference. All we're doing is this is just purely for UI organization. Alright, so now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and move to our quest object. So this one's going to be a little different since the quest object is actually going to be a struct, so we need to wrap this struct in an object. So to do that, I'm just going to come into the content drawer, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to blueprint, I'm going to select object, and I'm going to go ahead and make a BP, this will be a BP objective DTO. So this is my data transfer object for this. So I'm just going to hit save. So this is just allowing me to move some structured data for the quest objective and the quest objective history information so that we can use this as needed. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this real quick. So quest objective history is objective results. So let's put some variables in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the is so, and I'm just going to make the spawn and expose on spawn so that data can come in. And then I'm going to add another one, and this one is going to be quest objective, and this is going to be core. type call quest objectives. So we're just going to be passing some information in. And then the other one is going to be quest. And this one is going to be for quest objective history. So this one is going to be for the first list, right? This is the objectives, and then this should be for the objective history that we want to pass back. And both of these are exposed on spawn, and both of these, and that's what this little boolean here is to say which should we be displaying. Should we be displaying this or this? All right, so again, I'm just going to go ahead and just move some of that logic, some of the widget logic into this object since we have it. So to do that, I'm just going to create two functions. I'm going to have get objective name, get objective details, and we'll have some logic in there. So let's start off with get objective name. So let's go add a function, get objective name. And again, so from here, I'm just going to go grab this, set that, and I need a result node, a return node. And that return node is going to be of type text, and this was going to be, it's going to make it a one-namer result. And let's go ahead and format this, format text. And I'm just going to go copy and paste the format. So what we have here is we've got name, history, and and this is the amount. So this is the amount from this is the history amount, and this is going to be the objective amount, or that's required. It's a little cryptic. We'll see this. So I'm going to say get quest objective. Could grab this, and I'm just going to go ahead and break. So I'm going to put the name into there, and I'm just going to go grab the amount and put the amount in there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hide those connections just to make it look a little neater. And then here's our objective history for that objective, and I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to say break. And I'm just going to go grab the progress amount and put that into there. And then if I wanted to, I can also just hide anything I don't need. Alright, so whenever this comes up, we'll see how the amount needed versus the amount that we're currently tracking to. And that's what will show up there. And then we have get objective details. Actually, that should be objective details. Let me just rename this real quick. That one is objective details. This is just objective name. So it'll be very similar. Same idea, and I'm gonna say result, and here I'm just gonna take the objective name, just going to go ahead, just break this, grab this, and then I'll just say hide everything else. So name is name, and the other one is the details. So yeah, so now we've got details there, which is a little bit more complex, which is, okay, we have the name and the details, and then here we just have the name of the objective. So we've got two options. All right, so okay, so that should do it for this DTO. I don't think there's really anything else I need in here. No. So now we can go and come back to our object here. Let's go to the row and let's go create that other widget. So I'm just going to go ahead and press the little plus button here next to the entry widget. Come to third person, go back to blueprints and into UI, and I'm going to call this WBC. Objective list item, and I'm just going to hit save. Just going to compile it and save it. Alright, so this is going to be the list item that we're going to use for our objective name. So for this one, again, I'm just going to use a size box for our layout. Oops. And that size box is just going to be of height 40. Compile, and then I'm going to put a horizontal box in there for layout. And horizontal box, nothing special there, we'll just leave that. And then within the horizontal box, I'm just going to put two texts and a spacer. Text, spacer, and I'm just going to duplicate this. Actually, before I duplicate it, I'm just going to go ahead and set it up. So here, I'm just going to make this, I'm going to give this our nice yellow color. And this is going to just stay static. This is just going to be just a bullet point. Let's just go from full screen to just odd on screen so we can kind of get an idea what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to put a little asterisk there. And I'm also going to put a space, two spaces to kind of push it out a little bit. Formatting. So, alright, so that's all that's going to be is that. And I'm going to set this to size 20. And let's just make sure that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. Just justify it a bit. Alright, so now I'm going to say duplicate, and I'm going to move my spacer up. And instead of an asterisk, first I'm going to make this a variable, and I'm going to say, I'm just say txt objective text. Make it a little bit, and I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to say objective 1/5, just for an idea. I'm going to make this white again, so white text. But it could stay that, stay that. I'm going to re-justify that, and I'm just going to re-justify that, so this kind of lines up closer to the bullet point. Hit compile, hit save, and I think that should do it for the layout. So that's what it's going to look like. So let's go to the graph, and we'll start filling this out. So again, in the graph, we need to go to settings. We're going to come down to the interface and implements interface. We're going to go ahead and add the user object list entry, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove the other one since I'm not using it. And I'm just going to click on it, and we don't need anything else here, so I'll just take that out, hit compile, hit save. Alright, so from here we're just going to go ahead and cast to our BP underscore objective DTO. So this is the one we want. So again, we're wrapping those structs and some additional logic in there. So from here, I'm just going to come out and I'm going to say is objective result, and I'm going to then say branch, so we can put a branch in there. So if this is a good cast, which it should be, we'll go ahead and figure out how we're going to define this. So if this is a result, I'm going to take our text box, alright, so we're going to take our text box here, and so if this is a result, then I'm going to want to run the function get objective details. Oh, want to make a small change here in the DTO. So since these are both gets, I'm just going to make these pure functions, so I don't have to call them. I don't have to call them in the execution statement. So let's try that again. So let's go to get objective. So there's our get objective details. Alright, so now it's pure. And I'm also going to do the one for get objective name. And so we'll do that there. So I'm just going to put that one into there. I'm just going to go copy paste, and we'll put if false, we'll put that one into there. Okay, so that should set up the list item widget. There's our DTO, list item. So now if we come back to our Questlog, we can go ahead and use that same. So let's go back to Questlog. So now that we've got this here, we're just going to go ahead and do the same thing down here, and I'm just going to put that one down there. So the idea being is that I should see these are the this is the active objective, and this will have the data. This is just going to be the idea being it's just a running list of finished objectives. So we'll see how that works. Alright, so that's set up. So now that we've got the layout done, let's go ahead and go back to the main screen and start to flesh this out and finish it up. So we've got the event, we've got pre-construct, construct, and destruct. So I'm going to move an event tick. We're not going to do anything with event tick. I'm going to move pre-construct up to here, and I'm going to need event destruct. So first off, I'm just going to go ahead and set up the control. Since this is a main screen, there's some things that we want to do to allow the user to interact with it. So to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and set it up so when we bring it up, it'll do one. We'll bring up the mouse cursor, and then when we bring it back down, we'll go back to game mode only again. So let's go grab our get player controller. So we can run this function here, and we just care about the player controller at index 0. I'm going to make sure that we have a valid controller. That's the one I want. Is valid. If it is valid, I'm going to say set. I'm going to set this to game and UI. So there it is. And if we want to say widget in focus, we can probably just say self reference. That's the widget we want in focus. Do not lock. And then finally we want to override that. We want to bring out the mouse, so I'm going to say set show mouse cursor, and we want to show it, so I'm just going to check the checkbox there. And then destructor on destruct, I'm just going to go and just copy this real quick. So again, just make sure that that's still good. It should be. And then off here, we're just going to say set to game only. So this will revert everything back to game mode only. And then we want to reset this to hide our mouse. So I'm just going to go grab that and lock that in there. All right, so that should do it for our, so that should do it for show and hide. So now we just need the pre-construct so we can actually build the list box for us. So this is going to be a little bit involved. Since there's going to be a lot of nodes here, we need to be able to clear things out and set things up, and we've got some event bindings. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want is the player controller. And the reason why we want the player controller is because that's our component that we want is on there. So we're going to say get and we're going to say get component by class, and we want the single, so we don't need to bring back an array, and the class we want to bring is the core quest component. So it's going to look for this on this controller that's associated with this controller, and we'll pull this back. And again, I'm just going to make sure that it's still valid. So first off, let's go ahead and clear out all of our list views. So I'm just going to go grab the main quest, and I'm just going to also, while I'm at this, so we'll grab main quest and side quest. So the first thing we want to do is we'll just want to clear out these list boxes. Clear list items. Alright, so once we clear them out, now let's go ahead and get all of our active objectives. So get all. So these are all our active quests. And so again, this is a function that we went ahead and put on the quest log, so it's just easier for us to find this data and grab this data. So this is just an array of objects. So I'm going to say for each loop, so for each active quest, we're just going to go ahead and iterate through this array. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and come out. I'm just going to say promote to variable, and I'm going to call this first active quest. So this is the first active quest. This could be a first active quest. So for right now, I'm just going to go grab the first active quest. You may want to put a little bit of logic in there to make sure that if this is the first active quest and we want to set this, that it's also a main quest too. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and just run this. And what this is going to do is it's just going to say if it's the first active quest, let's go ahead and put this as the first thing that shows up on our screen. So I'm just going to run this, and I'm going to say is valid again. So if we haven't instantiated it, right, then we're going to go ahead and set it. Otherwise, if we have it, then we're just going to move beyond it. All right, so from here, I'm going to do a bind event on click select. So I'm going to say on There's our on click select. So I'm just going to go grab this, and we're going to put that there. Just bring this down a little bit. And then from here, I'm just going to go grab this, and we'll just go ahead and create a event dispatcher. And I'll just run that there. So this will be on click on quest click. And we'll just leave that there for now. We'll come back to it a little bit later. And actually, I do not want to use this one. Instead, I want to use this one. So pretty much whether it's valid or not, the only time we're going to execute this statement is just to set this first active quest and set that up, and we'll use that for loading. But otherwise, everything else will just go ahead, and as we loop through, we want to create our binding here. And then what we want to do is we then want to figure out with which of these lists we want to put into. Do we want to put a main quest and act, or the side quests? So to do that, and if you have other sections, you could do it other ways. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say come down here. Actually, you know, I'm just going to go and just drag it off this node here. And I'm going to say get quest category. So we went ahead and created another UI function on our quest here. So if we come back, so we went ahead and created get quest category here. So again, we just created, creating these little functions on here just to make our lives a lot easier when we're building out our UI. So that's what that's going to do. And then on here, I'm just going to run a select. So this is going to allow us to select which list do we want to put it into. So again, we've got our side quests, and then we've got our main quests. So for main quests, I'm just going to put that into there, and I'm just going to hook that into there. For side quests, it's just going to be either side quest or miscellaneous. Keep it simple. And then finally, we're just going to go ahead and add the item. So to do this, we're just going to say add item, and this is going to add it. So what we're doing here is this is a select statement which will determine which of these two list components in the UI we want to use. So I'm just going to go grab that, and we'll just drag and drop that into there. So here we're just able to reuse our quest object to drive that for us there. And then since this is an array we're iterating through, we want to then complete. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say first active quest. And you know, I'm just going to go grab this and put this down there. So on complete, we're just going to double check to make sure that this is valid still. And if this is valid, then I'm going to say display selected quest, which is on click request. On quest click. And this one we'll just use this. So what we're going to do is we're just checking to make sure this is valid, which should be. So as long as there's something in there, if this is valid, we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll run this on quest here and passing in this guy. I may want to do something else there. You know what? I don't need to do this here. I'm actually just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that because I can do the validation inside this function. I think that'll be a little bit easier. It'll make it a little bit easier, and it'll also help me clear things up a bit. All right, so here we are. This is the on-click quest, and this is going to be a little bit hairy. There's a lot going on in here. So let's go ahead. So right now we've got these two list views, and I don't know what they are. So let's go back and redefine them real quick. So this list view is going to be our, let's see, this is our stage objectives. So let's just rename this so I'm going to call it stage objectives. I'm going to hit complete and save, and this one is going to be completed objectives. So we'll run that. Okay, so now we know what those are. Let's come back and let's get started. So the first thing we could always do is we want to clear out any existing data whenever we click so that we can repopulate. So first thing I'm going to do is just clear out these lists. So I'll just clear the lists of the items, real easy. And then we've got a bunch of text that we need to clear too. So we've got the quest title. So we're just going to say set So I'm going to set that text. Then we've got the quest description. I'm just going to go copy and paste this here. And hook that to there. And then finally we've got our, so that's the quest description. So and then lastly we've got the stage description. Same idea. All we're doing is just setting them to blank text so that we can fill it. And then off here, I'm just going to run it as valid. And we'll just validate that. So only if this object is valid are we going to then suddenly say, okay, let's go ahead and put something in. And then off here, off the valid input, I'm going to say get quest data. So get quest data. So here's another function that we created again to get this information off the quest object. And then from here, I'm just going to run a break. Oops, no. Gonna run a break. There it is. So here's all of our data information off the call quest state data object, and from within here let's go ahead and quest details. So here we just need to go ahead and get the row, so I'm just going to go ahead and just break that and say get data table row, and that's what we're going to be getting. And it's just compiling, saying that we need an output row. So this one is going to be our output row. So here I'm just going to go ahead and add a variable, and I'm just going to call this selected row and of type core quest row. So keep it simple. So that's the row that we're outputting if it's found. So save and save. All right, we're good there. And if we find the row, so as you can see, it's getting a little bit more complex, because we've got nested data that we need to go look for. So now we can get our quest name and quest description. So I'm just going to go and quest name, quest description. I'm just going to copy them from there and bring them over to here. Quest name, quest description. Those two are done. And then we want the stage description so we know what we're actually doing. So again, all of our stages are set in maps. So I'm going to say find. So we need to now go ahead and find that. I'm just going to go ahead and just shrink anything I don't need. So to find this, we have the current stage ID. So this is, we're only interested in the current stage. We're not interested in anything else. So we'll just hold on to that. And then once we found it, we're just going to say break. So here's our stage structure. And then we want the stage description. So I'm just going to go copy this. And we'll just hook this up. And I'm just going to take the description. And then when in here, we want the objectives. So I'm just going to do a for. I'm just going to do a for loop so that way we can fill up the objectives in the objective list. I don't think I need anything else here, so I'm just going to minimize that. Alright, so from here we've got the, let's go ahead and construct our object. And this class is going to be our BP objective DTO, since that's what we're passing through. And I'm just going to go ahead and drag the quest objective in. So if that's that, that's that, and then I'm going to do the add to list. There it is, add item. And this is just going to be the objective. You know, we are not too interested in the result for this one. Okay. Alright, so once we have that, we also want to populate our other part of the list as well. So from there, we're also going to be running the objective details as well for our second list. So to do that, I am going to get the quest history. Log. So this is our quest history log, and I'm just going to break this. And here we have our completed stages. So all I'm going to do here, so this one is going to be a little interesting since I'm going to want to iterate through to do our find. Okay, so the way this is working is we're going to go ahead and take the, we have the output history by this, so all of the objectives by the stage key ID. So what we want to do is once we've gotten all of the objectives into that list, we want to go ahead and create the completed list. So to do that, on complete of all of those loops for that section, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and then execute the next box down. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up. So we've got loops and loops and loops and loops for our data. Alright, so that sets that up. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and match the, we want to do this here. I'm just going to go grab this, and we want to put this into the complete objectives. So this is our other list that we created. I'm going to say add item. So our goal here is to, so this is just going to be a list of the names, where this is going to actually have the history and the objectives, and the results. So this is what we want for that second output box, which is going to be more of the history. So here what we have is the key, and this key is actually the stage ID, and this is the query values. So we actually have a function on the object which is get objective details, and get objective details takes in a stage ID. So we've got a nice little helper function to help tame this a little bit more. So you can see it's kind of getting a little bit nasty here as we're trying to pull out the information within our quest object for the UI. But we've got some tools in here, some utilities to kind of help with that. So here, what we can do is we can then take this and park this into here. So now we've got a loop. So we can get the actual data. So this is the working data. This is the historical data. And then what we want to do is I want to then go ahead and say, I'm going to pull this out and we're going to break this. So here we are, we have another loop, and I'm just going to go and say, actually I don't need to do a loop on here, but what I need to do is I need to loop through this. So what we want to do is we want to loop through this map here. We're going to go ahead and pass that key into here to get the correct stage, get the correct objectives, so that we can then take the objective history here, and I'm just going to do a find. Actually, can I do it? Should I do it? Do I need to do a find here? Actually, no. We want to do a find here. And what we're trying to find is, I'm going to break this. I'm just going to open this up, and objective ID and objective ID. So I'll just minimize that. So again, we're just trying to find this information within these loops so that we can match what we're looking for here. So if in this loop that we get a find, and I'm going to put a branch here to make sure this is successfully found. So this is the main loop, then this is just going to loop through to find what, the values. So this should be all the objectives, and then what we do is we want to make sure that we map these objectives and these objectives together. So this is the objective history, so objective history should go into there, and this should go into there, so that should give us the history and the actual data, and that should do it for our objectives. Alright, so now that we've got this set up, this should set up everything to fill in all of the boxes. And say it's getting a little nasty on the selection, since there's a lot of data for us to have to go and parse through. Maybe a little bit later I could create some helper functions to make this a little bit easier to find, but for now it's kind of working for me. Alright, so now let's go ahead and set up the I'm going to go ahead and set up the input so we can open this up. So to do that, I'm just going to go right click into the box, go to and this is under input actions, and I'm just going to go ahead and put the input action in here, IA Questlog. Going to open this up, and this is pretty much I'm just going to keep this simple, and I'm going to come back to the IMC default mappings, which is under input, right here, and I'm just going to add a mapping for our Questlog. And I'm going to map this to the L, and then I'm going to set the trigger. So I'm going to hit the plus key, and I'm just going to say, I'm just going to use press. So when we press the key, there's a threshold that we need to make. So this will tell the trigger to treat this as a press on trigger. So now I'm going to come back into the controller. So we can find our controller here under blueprints, and this is where I'm going to bring up the Questlog. So to do that, I'm going to say ia_Questlog, and I'm going to tie the trigger to our map. So this is going to go to, and I'm going to use a flip-flop. So if it's open, it will close, and if it's closed, it will open. So off here, I'm going to run an isValid. So we want to check. No, I want the macro for isValid. Macro version. So that'll be the isValid. So if it's not valid, and what we're going to be checking for is the widget already created. So create WB create widget. That's the one I want. And this will be the WB_Questlog. And I'm just going to say promote to variable, and I'm just going to call this Questlog. And once it's created, I'm going to say add to viewports. Yeah. There it is. And then here, let me just delete that. Yeah. Let me just fix this real quick. That. And then I can run a get here, get, and then say add to viewport. So if this is already set, we'll add it to the viewport, and I'm going to run another get. So if this is valid, we'll add it to the viewport already, so it's already been created. Otherwise, if it hasn't been created, we'll go ahead and create it and add it to the viewport. And then if we want to close it, again, I'm just going to make sure that we have a valid object to execute. And if it is valid, then all I'm going to say is remove from parent. And that's all we're going to do there. Let's remove from the parent. Owning player, we can keep that for now. It'll just default. Alright, so that should work. So if everything is set up, we should be able to open up our quest log. We should be able to fill up our quest logs with quests, and then open up our quest log and see those quests in there, and be able to then select from them. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this out of the way so we can fire this up in the UI. Alright, so let's go ahead and test this. So let's fire this up. I'm just going to hit the 1 key so we load everything up. I'm going to hit the L key, and there's our quest 1, quest 2, there's quest 4, there's our side quest. So everything looks like it's lining up. But we don't seem to see the objective show up for completed objectives down here. So there's a little bit of an issue here. So let's see, let's go back to the blueprint and find out what's going on. So let's go ahead and move this over real quick. There it is. So whoops, we went and created an object, but we forgot to add it in there. So just like we did up here, in order to add that to the item, we forgot to add that in there. So let's go ahead and try that again. Hit save, and we'll go ahead and run this, and we'll hit the 1 key, which will load everything up. there it is, and so there we are. So so Quest 3 and Quest 2 are running. Even Quest 4 is technically running. It's just completed, so it's just adding in there. But then there's our location. So what right now, because Quest 4 completed, it's completed, but we have not clean. There's still it's still got the reference to the object here, so it's still pulling that. Maybe I think what I might want to do is on request maybe do a refresh of this as well. But for now, that looks okay. Looks like my borders are a little bit thick here and a little bit thin there, so there's a little tweaking we can do. But for the most part, I think that the log's there and I can kind of see some information. So I think next up, let's go ahead and do the tracker. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and stop this video here, since this is kind of a long video trying to set this up. And what I'll do is I'll move the tracker into another video where we can then go ahead and set that widget up in a very similar manner. Alright, so again, if you like what I'm doing, feel free to like and share my videos, as well as subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments, you can leave them down below. And I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers, and have a good day.